Merry Christmas, everyone. Christmas, the season of joy, peace, and goodwill. Or so we thought. Beneath the twinkling lights and festive cheer lies a chilling history of dark events that shattered the holiday spirit. From disasters to tragedies, these are the unsettling stories that prove not all is calm and not all is bright. Prepare to see the darker side of Christmas. Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Nikolai and Elena Soescus. Blood on the snow and a world watching in stunned disbelief. Romania's brutal era under Nikolai and Elena closed its final chapter on Christmas Day, 1989. Decades of communist tyranny had pushed everyday Romanians past the boiling point, and after the couple's sudden capture, a makeshift trial delivered a guilty verdict within hours. Critics argued that justice and due process took a back seat to raw vengeance, but there was no turning back. By sundown on December 25th, the pair who once wielded absolute power over a terrified nation lay dead, their reign ended on a day typically reserved for warmth and compassion. In a country where secret police had once spied on citizens, people were now opening gifts to the news that the dictatorship had collapsed. The holiday season would forever be tainted by the memory of that grisly firing squad, marking one of history's strangest and darkest Christmas moments. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Christmas flood of 1717. Walls of freezing seawater slammed into quiet coastal towns along the North Sea just as families tried to celebrate the holiday indoors, their homes lit with flickering candles rather than warning beacons. December 24th and 25th, 1717 brought a night unlike any other in Europe's history, as brutal winds whipped the waves higher and higher until villages were swallowed whole and farmland disappeared beneath the icy depths. In the Netherlands, Germany, and Scandinavia, some 14,000 people lost their lives, making it one of the continent's worst natural disasters. Instead of laughter and carols, screams filled the darkness, and Christmas morning arrived to scenes of unimaginable destruction. Frozen bodies lay scattered where kitchens and chapels once stood, and entire communities were left counting who was gone, who was still breathing, and how to rebuild when the season that promised hope had delivered a nightmare. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Tangiwai disaster in New Zealand. Nobody aboard the overnight express racing through the darkness on Christmas Eve 1953 had any idea that molten sludge was rushing down from the mountain slopes, quietly turning a sturdy railway bridge into a death trap. Just minutes before midnight, wheels clattered over weakening timbers, and then the train plunged straight into the flooded river as the supports finally gave way. The crash tore open carriages, flinging people and luggage into a chaotic swirl of water, debris, and shrieking steel. With 151 lives lost, this disaster remains New Zealand's worst rail catastrophe, forever scarring a nation that struggled to understand how a night meant for holiday cheer could twist into such a wrenching nightmare of loss and sorrow. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Bam earthquake in Iran. Less than a day after Christmas light dimmed in other corners of the world, the ancient city of Bam in southeastern Iran was shattered by a fierce quake that tore through history itself. Early on December 26, 2003, a magnitude 6.6 earthquake unleashed its fury, flattening most of the city's mud brick houses and reducing the famous 2,000-year-old citadel to rubble. More than 26,000 lives were lost in a matter of seconds as entire families were buried beneath collapsing walls, and desperate survivors dug through dusty ruins with bare hands. In the wake of the chaos, centuries of cultural legacy and the soul of a once thriving community lay broken on the ground, transforming what should have been a quiet day after Christmas into one of the most devastating natural disasters in Iranian history. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Indian Ocean tsunami. Whole villages vanished beneath walls of water that roared in with almost no warning just one day after Christmas in 2004, leaving entire coastlines shaken to their core. A staggering 9.1 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Sumatra unleashed a tsunami so immense it reached shores as far away as East Africa. In less time than it takes to unwrap holiday gifts, waves taller than palm trees slammed into beaches and tore through bustling resorts. 14 countries were hit, Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, and India among them, where families celebrating a quiet holiday morning suddenly found themselves scrambling for high ground, clinging to rooftops and trees. In the disaster's wake, over 230,000 people were lost beneath piles of splintered wood, shattered concrete, and twisted fishing nets. Coastlines were redrawn, fragile communities were ripped apart, and the global heartbreak echoed for years as survivors, stunned and shaken, tried to rebuild shattered homes and piece together the life that existed before the waters came rushing in. In our number 5 spot today, we have 2011 Nigeria on Christmas Day. Cafes had barely opened their doors and congregations were gathering under wooden rafters to sing carols when sudden explosions ripped through the holiday calm on December 25th, 2011. In several Nigerian cities, among them the nation's capital, churches and public squares turned into clouds of dust, broken glass, and screams. Boko Haram's claims of responsibility hit as hard as the blasts themselves, tainting a day meant for peace and unity with terror and confusion. At least 37 people lost their lives, while many more were left wounded, searching desperately for missing loved ones in the haze of sirens and smoke. The attacks proved that even sacred spaces and cherished traditions could be twisted into nightmares. Families struggled to comfort each other through the ringing in their ears and the disbelief that anyone could commit such an evil act on a morning meant for hope and goodwill. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Battle of the Bulge. Snow blew sideways through the dense Ardennes forest as the sound of battle rattled through the silent pines, making it painfully clear that Christmas 1944 would be anything but peaceful. German forces had caught the Allies off guard, pushing deep into a front they thought was secure and trapping exhausted American troops who were low on supplies and sleep. Soldiers who'd hoped for a quiet holiday huddled in frigid foxholes, bullets snapping overhead, and artillery shells hammering the landscape into splinters. The fighting was so fierce that many didn't even know where the front lines started or ended, and the chaos continued well past that day that should have been filled with warmth and goodwill. When it was all over, the Battle of the Bulge would go down as one of World War II's bloodiest American engagements, a Christmas memory stained red and forever etched into the minds of those who survived. In our number 3 spot today, we have the goat burnings in Sweden. A giant straw goat bursting into flames may not be the first thing that comes to mind when thinking of holiday cheer, but in some places in Sweden, it's practically part of the Christmas story. Since 1966, the town has built a colossal Yule goat, crafted from straw and set proudly in the town square. Yet, year after year, mysterious vandals slip through the snowy darkness, tossing matches or fireworks to ignite the poor creature until it crackles and collapses in a fiery heap. As of December 2023, 42 out of the 58 goats have met this grim fate, including some just before or on Christmas Day. Locals try to protect it with fences, guards, and even flame-resistant sprays, but determined arsonists always seem to find a way. In a season meant for warmth and goodwill, this towering symbol of holiday fun has instead become a strange, ongoing battle between tradition and destruction. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Covina event. A killer Santa Claus strolling up the driveway was the last thing anyone expected on a night of eggnog and carols, but on Christmas Eve 2008, the holiday spirit in Covina, California took a horrifying turn. Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, bitter and bent on revenge, burst into his ex-in-law's celebration armed. Within minutes, cheerful chatter became screams as he unleashed a shocking plan that claimed 9 lives and left the home ablaze. Neighbors, who only moments before were admiring holiday lights, stumbled into chaos as flames leapt from windows and terrified survivors scrambled to safety. The Covina massacre remains an unsettling reminder that even a night meant for laughter and warmth can be shattered by a single twisted act. And finally, to end off our list today, we are talking about the dissolution of the Soviet Union. A single date tore apart the very fabric of everyday life for millions, as December 25th, 1991 marked the end of the Soviet Union and the sudden downfall of a once mighty superpower. Instead of holiday cheer, people across the former Soviet states found themselves watching as Mikhail Gorbachev stepped down, turning the Kremlin's bright red banners into relics overnight. Decades of communist rule, iron-fisted policies, and tightly controlled economies crumbled, leaving behind a maze face of uncertain futures. New flags would soon be raised and new leaders would step forward, but the transition brought more questions than answers. Tensions flared, grocery shelves went bare, and entire communities struggled to make sense of rules and currencies that changed too quickly to keep up. On a day that is usually tied to comfort and tradition, vast regions of Eastern Europe and Central Asia were instead flooded with anxiety, heartbreak, and the chill of an unknown tomorrow.
Starting off this countdown, we have the Santa. In December 2011 in Berlin, a Santa Claus at the Alexanderplatz Christmas market was going around drugging young women after offering them a shot of alcohol. First off, I don't know about you, but I would not accept a beverage, let alone alcohol, from a dude dressed as Santa Claus. But apparently he convinced one girl to take a shot with him. Thankfully, the girl was with a friend who didn't take the shot. The one that did was left violently vomiting. 8 other women were victims to this as well. Some even passed out completely. So what did we learn today, folks? Do not accept drinks from strangers, even if they're the Easter Bunny or Cupid or Santa Claus. Moving on at number 9, we have Killer Claus. I'm sorry, but what? Well, I'm sorry. Take a look at this mall Santa and tell me this isn't a character from the Purge series. Seriously, isn't this the mask that the characters in the Purge wear? I think so. Also, where are his eyeballs? This dude either has the biggest eyelids ever or he has no eyelids at all. I really don't know how that kid is smiling because Santa is looking quite creepy. And honestly, same with that elf in the background. If I pulled up to the mall and saw that thing sitting there, I'd grab my kid and leave so fast. That is not okay. In our 8th spot, we have Santa the Homicide Detective. Bet you didn't know that Santa used to solve murder cases and has the power to bring dead people back to life. This is a legend shared by French families on Christmas. In particular, they would tell their children about the story involving 3 kids that got lost in the woods. While trying to find their way back home, they stumble upon a butcher's house. They knock on the door and ask for help. However, kind of like Jack and Jill, the butcher invites them in and fattens them up. Then when they are sleeping, he chops them up and makes them into a meat dish to then sell. 7 years later, Santa is on the case. Don't know why it took him 7 years, but okay. He ends up showing up at the butcher's house and asks him for some meat. He then confronts him about the missing people, sticks his fingers in a barrel of his meat, and then those 3 kids come back to life. And then they all lived happily ever after. I don't know about you, but that story kind of ruined Christmas for me. Santa needs to stick to the North Pole and helping his elves and Mrs. Claus, not murder victims. Moving on at number 7, we have White-Faced Santa. So you're telling me that someone actually let this man out in the mall to take pictures with children like that? No one thought, hey, maybe ease up on the makeup, you look like a scary porcelain doll. The rosy cheeks and nose look anything but jolly. His skin literally looks fake, like he's wearing a mask, but he's not. And you're telling me that kids willingly hopped on his lap and parents were like, yeah, no, he doesn't seem sketchy at all. Excuse me, he looks like a demon from my nightmares. I've never seen a scarier Santa. Moving on to number 6, we have the disease spreader. Back in December of 2006, it was discovered that the local mall Santa in Toledo was actually a carrier for the bacteria that causes meningitis. Turns out that he was spreading this to parents and other visitors. You know how many people the mall Santa sees daily? Hundreds. That means hundreds were exposed to him. Santa himself was an asymptomatic carrier of it. As a result, hundreds of families were notified, and those who got really close with Sandy Claus were put on antibiotics as a precaution. Way to go, Santa. Way to ruin Christmas. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Santa. Santa, the camera is this way, and her eyes are up there. This seems like the most action Santa has got in years. Not only is he getting frisky there, but he's not even being casual about it. He's fully staring at her boobies, and he's trying to cop a feel. That is very inappropriate, I'm telling Mrs. Claus. But in all seriousness, let's hope that this was a joke and that the poor woman was comfortable with it and consented to it. In our 4th spot, we have the indecent exposure. Imagine being young and excited to meet Santa Claus. You're standing in line, eagerly waiting when all of a sudden, Santa gets up and pantsed himself, exposing his candy canes and Christmas bulbs to everyone. That would be pretty traumatizing. Well, this happened in real life. It happened at the Walnut Grove shopping mall in Flagstaff, Arizona in 2014. Apparently, the mall's Santa Darnell Kendrickson got all upset because he wasn't allowed a break. So, in retaliation, he went back to his Santa's chair, dropped his drawers, and began to touch himself. Thankfully, he was arrested shortly after and he was fined $50,000. And obviously, he was fired. What's sad though is that no one came to post his bail, so he was stuck inside prison over the holidays. That's not very merry. Moving on at number 3, we have Jack Nicholson Santa. Now, why did I name this the Jack Nicholson Santa? Well, see for yourself. Here's Santa! Does he not look like Jack Nicholson from The Shining? Yes, he does. Why did Santa need to peel his eyes wide open like that? And what's with his facial expression? I'm genuinely concerned. It seems like he's on or he's hyped up on caffeine. Either way, I wouldn't want to get close to him. Next thing you know, he whips out an axe from under his chair and starts hacking up his elves. Moving on to number 2, we have alien claws. I don't care what anybody says, aliens are real, and this right here is an alien. This is not a human. This is an alien pretending to be Santa Claus. For starters, what's up with his forehead? Didn't know Santa had that bad of a receding hairline. Maybe that's why he likes wearing those red Christmas hats. He's over there looking like Megamind. Not only that, but what is on his face? I can't tell if it's prosthetics or a cheap scary mask. Either way, he looks terrifying. Santa's also looking a little stressed. Like, look at all those forehead lines. Someone get this man some milk and cookies ASAP. Again, my question is, why did they think Santa actually looked good like this? Like, who allowed this? And in our number 1 spot today, we had the kidnapper clause. Who here would love to go back to the North Pole with Santa and become one of his little helpers? Well, back in 2015 in Florida, a crazed man dressed as Santa was going around a local mall trying to convince young shoppers that he was Santa and that they should come back to the North Pole with him and become one of his elves. He also said he had lots of toys out back for them. Obviously, this was just a kidnapping ploy. Thankfully, he was caught and arrested and no one got hurt.
Spinning into our number 9 spot on this list, we have a Christmas cyclone. Back in 1974 on Christmas Day, Australia was a victim to one of the most destructive cyclones to have ever hit the continent. Cyclone Tracy burrowed through the city, and it burrowed through the city of Darwin, destroying more than 70% of its buildings and 80% of the residential houses. The damage became so severe because winds reached 217 kilometers an hour. This devastating cyclone killed 71 people and left the city between $2.5 and $3 billion worth of damages. Nearly half the population in Darwin were left homeless and 30,000 people were evacuated. This sounds like a terrible way to spend Christmas Day. Moving into number 8 spot, we have a train disaster. A lot of us take the train every day, as part of our daily commute. We will never think anything bad will happen to us, well, until it does. So between December 24th and December 25th, a train traveling in Auckland, New Zealand was driving on its normal course when all of a sudden it slipped off the wet rails and plummeted into a river down below. 285 passengers were on board and more than half of them died during the crash or from being submerged underwater. Over the next couple of days, volunteers and rescuers found hundreds of muddy and ruined presents within the wreckage from the passengers trying to, make it home for Christmas. This is such a heartbreaking story, and even to this day, this is New Zealand's worst railway disaster. And now at number 6, we have the Boxing Day tsunami. I know this technically didn't happen on Christmas Day, but I still think it deserves a spot on our list. In 2004, one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded hit 9.1 on the Richter scale, and this triggered a massive tsunami that hit Thailand, India, and Sri Lanka. Within the first 20 minutes, a bunch of 100-foot waves hit the shoreline, killing more than 100,000 people and completely destroying cities. In total, nearly 230,000 people were killed, which makes this one of the most deadliest disasters in modern history. A Christmas hijacking takes us to our number 5 spot. In 1994, an Air France flight number 8969 was boarded by 4 men who were heavily armed with machine guns, dynamite, and homemade grenades. planes. The hijacking lasted for 2 full days, and within that time 3 innocent bystanders lost their lives. But things obviously could have been a whole lot worse. Thankfully, the French Special Forces stormed the plane when it landed and killed the hijackers. Originally, the hijackers planned on flying the plane to Paris and exploding it over the Eiffel Tower, killing everyone on board and potentially killing hundreds, if not thousands of people who were on the Eiffel Tower that day, or even on the ground below. Sailing into number 3, we have the tragic sinking of the SS Patria ship. In 1940, 1,800 Jewish refugees were fleeing Germany in an attempt to escape being a part of one of the largest mass killings known to man. They all boarded a ship called the SS Patria, but an organization had placed a bomb on board that was programmed to explode on the morning of December 25th. When the ship exploded, it quickly started to sink, and it took only 16 minutes for it to completely be immersed underwater. This sad event killed 267 innocent people who had no idea. The worst hotel fire in history brings us to number 2. Back on December 25th in 1971, over in Seoul, people were celebrating Christmas and was getting settled in for the night. But little did they know that a disaster was about to strike. A gas explosion caused the fire to rapidly spread throughout the hotel. Well, soon enough, the entire hotel was engulfed in flames, and by the time the fire was put out, it had been 10 hours. 166 people had lost their lives, and most of them actually died from smoke inhalation.